Thank you so much for being here. We are very, very happy to welcome you to this first ever Women for Change event. And I say first ever because we didn't have the chance to welcome any of you on stage in the audience last year because you know the context. So we are very, very happy. Thank you, and a big hello to all those who are watching us online. Thank you so much. Well, tonight is pretty special, and I say tonight, but we're actually not in the evening, but it's very special. It's a very special event for us because it's in the middle of the biggest highlight of our year, the ChangeNOW Summit, and in this iconic venue, the Grand Palais Éphémère. So it's wonderful. Talking about women changing the world, advocating for new ways of thinking, financing innovation led by women, all this in the largest international gathering of change makers and solutions for the planet. Well, to say the least, it makes sense. Women are part of the solution. They have a key and an active role to play in the social and environmental transition globally. So they should have the place they deserve as such. Whatever organization they work in, regardless the activity they carry out there, they do what they can they use their power to actually change things they believe are unequal or unfair. Just like those men and all those people globally who are actively believing in gender equality and doing their part. Their commitment is, they use that commitment as a force for good and for the better. And tonight, this is what we want to show. We want to give a platform to those people. So we've been fortunate enough to have met so many passionate and incredible women through Women for Change initiative. And for that, I want to thank all our partners who are supporting this mission by putting some light and creating opportunities for women who change the world and all the people worldwide who believe in equality. That said, I will let you discover all those fascinating discussions around innovation, leadership, intersectionality, inclusivity with our amazing speakers here. And let me welcome the host of this session, Simone Vincenzi. Have a lovely session.
Hello, hello, hello. Are you ready for Women for Change? Yeah. We are ready to rock, we are ready to roll, we are ready to rumble, and we are ready to showcase some incredible women that are making a massive, massive difference in the world. And that's why we are here, to celebrate, to give a platform, to give opportunities, because we all know that, yes, we moved a long way, but there is still a lot of work that needs to be done for a more equal representation, for more equal opportunities, as well as visibility. And that's why we are here today. So throughout this session, you're going to meet different speakers, and you're going to be introduced to some of the incredible projects that they are doing. And one of the reasons why this session is very dear to me is it's for me also a chance to acknowledge a really important person in my life, which is my mom. I'm Italian, mama's boy, what can I say? And I've been raised by an incredible woman. She was a single mom. She raised me and my brother. And let me tell you, we were tough kids. And to all the single moms in the room, you know what I'm talking about. All the sacrifices that you're making, all the challenges that there are. But it was one thing. She always stood by our side. And so for me, being here and being asked to host this session, it is an incredible pleasure, but also a way to say grazie mamma, as we say in Italian. Yeah, massive round of applause for mom. Now that I said something that was really meaningful to me as well, what I want to do is to introduce our first speaker of the day. And she's incredible because she works in an intersection of culture, ecology, and arts. She won the MA Biodesign Maison Zero from LVMH collaboration One Nature, One Future. And also she's currently working as an after-school club leader at the London Steiner School to inspire the next generation of leaders. So without further ado, Can you please give a massive round of applause to Keith Ondaatje Rose? Woohoo! Come on, 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 come on!
Woo, thank you. Not sure where to. Can you hear me? All right. Not sure where to stand. So hello. Thank you all very much for having me. And I am going to be doing a presentation that should be on the screen at some stage. Can you see it? Sorry. It's not on this. OK. Where's the presentation? Right. OK, well, I'm going to be doing a presentation. Here we go. Women for Change. I'm going to be talking about the power of interdisciplinarity. Yes. Sorry. There we go. So I just graduated with my master's in biodesign from Central St. Martin's. And when I tell people that I studied biodesign, everybody's always like, wow, like, oh my God, that's so cool. But like, what on earth is it? And so basically, biodesign is the power of biology to positively impact the world through design. And so you can be working in any of these disciplines. You can focus on energy, on climate, food, buildings, anything. Yes, anyway, basically it's between biology and science, the power of combining the two together. So what Simone was referencing is my project called Alga Vodka, which has been rebranded as Blimey. And it won the LVMH Maison Zero UAL collaboration, One Nature, One Future, and it was showcased at the IUCN World Conservation Congress in 2021. So Blimey, it is the product of a regenerative system whereby algae is cultivated in vodka production effluent in order to produce vodka once again. So this system uses the principles of circularity and nutrient recycling to simultaneously remediate the effluent and produce limited edition vodka runs to be enjoyed worldwide. So for you to kind of visualize this system, it starts with the wastewater from vodka production, and then you cultivate it, you grow algae in that wastewater, and then you undergo the same system that you do with with kind of potatoes, whatever you need to grow. Sorry, vodka. And then also part of the system, you end up with the algal biomass. And from this, you then produce pigments, packaging, or fertilizer, which are then repurposed. They're upcycled back into the system. And then the fertilizer also, you work with farmers, and it's through integration and education, because the algae is basically can offer as an alternative to the synthetic pesticides and fertilizers that are used in traditional vodka production that actually cause algal blooms anyway. So it's this regenerative system. And so this was done during first lockdown, and I kind of created my kind of home lab with the fermentary. And this is just images of the process. And when I talk about innovation and integration, I think everybody loves innovation. Any innovative idea, everybody's like, wow, that's amazing. But integration is also very important because there are lots of other people also working in these fields. And so producing pigments from algae or producing packaging from algae, it's possible, it has been done. So just bringing these together into a system. And yes, so this was the final product of this regenerative system. And so as much as I want to bring this to life, I really do, I think it looks good, tastes good, it's more healthy, it's regenerative, it has all these pros, but actually, and it's very seductive because it's quite cool, it's quite sexy, I'd quite like to actually make this algae vodka. But at the same time, I think a lot of us know that these techno fixes aren't actually going to get us anywhere. I mean, they will get us anywhere. That's why we're here. But I don't. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. I personally find this. Sorry. Yes. So I want to bring this to life, but I think. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we all know we're not going to buy a way out of this problem. The problem is huge. We're not going to drink our way out of the problem. Definitely not. No. But anyway, I think a lot of young people have this, is like, okay, yes, it's a good idea, but actually, there are so many good ideas, and it's not good enough. And I think that thinking becomes so really, really paralyzing. And so again, this is what actually brings me back to the power of the arts. Because art for me, I think the first thing, I kind of visualize in two things. So when I say paralyzing, I mean like you can't move, you're stationary. But the first thing is I see it in two steps. So firstly, step one is it allows you to process what is going on in your mind. Because as I said, like the problem, there are so many problems, there are so many crises. We read in the news every day, this crisis, this crisis. So the first thing is allowing yourself the time and the space to process what is going on. And then the second thing is after you've kind of grounded yourself, you can then act. And it's actually, what I find so interesting is the relationship between arts and culture, because I think we need more of a cultural change rather than the behavioral change, the technological solutions. And again, so that's why it brings me back to the arts, because art acts both as a mirror, but it also for a society and its values and their beliefs and everything in the way that they are and make sense of the world. But then it's also a projection of what could be in the world. And I think that is what largely a lot of the time we're missing, because as I said about like the fact that it can be so paralyzing, I think what we really needed to see more artworks that are bringing us joy, that are celebratory, that are kind of respecting the world around us, and that really celebrate the world around us. Yes, and for me, what brings me joy, this is a diagram where how I visualize myself. So I see myself, as I said, working at the intersection. And it is bringing the sciences, and maybe that's the natural sciences, social sciences, the spiritual sciences, which I don't have time to talk about, but that references my work at the Steiner School. But yes, bringing together the sciences and the arts. And it is at these intersections, and it doesn't necessarily have to be between the arts and the sciences. It's between it's bringing together, for example, medicine and music and teaching and theatre. And there are so many things where when you bring them together, we think that they're polarized. We think that they're going to be contradictory. But actually, this is where it's regenerative. They're actually complementary. And at the bottom, it says nature culture, because that's a perfect example of these polarities. But actually, I kind of think it should say growth and decay, because it makes more sense to us. We see that both of these things, they're kind of extremes of the same cycle, rather than seeing them as polar opposites. And so this is what I find really, really exciting, because as I said, I operate in the sciences. And I don't think science at the moment, and science for centuries, has been focused on the empirical, the rational, and facts. You know, it's all proof. You have to, it's all about proof and facts in science. But actually, it's expanding. It's actually looking backwards, and it's expanding, and it's becoming more creative to include the feminine, the indigenous, and it's becoming more holistic, interconnected, and celebrating and honoring and valuing other ways of being, seeing, and understanding, making sense of the world. And this is what we were talking about at She Changes Climate. So I was chosen to curate the creative segment of She Changes Climate's inaugural event at COP26. So COP26 is it's an organization enabling women in all their diversity to lead climate action globally. So we went to COP, and we was demanding 50-50 representation of women on all leadership positions at COP, and then also and beyond. And so we held our event, which was called Champions of Solutions, and we had panels discussing food, finance, fashion, biodiversity, etc. And we essentially were asking, where are the women? And yes, I know that it's so important to have women here. That is why we are all here. But also, actually, the most important thing for me that came out of it was actually the importance of having the feminine there, because you can have a woman there, but she can be channeling all of her masculine energy and just repeating exactly what's happened already. So actually, it's not about. I mean, it's more than just having women there. It's having the feminine as well, and because and when I say the feminine, I'm talking about supporting one another. And so this is what I have here in front of me. Thank you all. But supporting me and being more holistic and, as I said, interconnected, and it builds resilience to have this biocultural diversity on a team and being surrounded by that as well. And also it's more inclusive, because it doesn't mean, if we say women, it feels a little bit like women only, and actually to say, no, we're channeling the feminine, it means that we can all be there. And I think that's really important, and it kind of challenges what I was saying about these polarities, male, female, like, you know, those polarities. And so it allowed us to have this panel. This was the Creative Sisters and Brothers panel, and we were talking about the power of the arts. And I don't think we realized, but when we were all there, so it was amazing, because we had artists, we had musicians, we had folk singers, writers, curators, directors. It was everything, and we had a ClientEarth representative, and as I said, I don't think we realized, but we were all operating in these former divisions, whereas culture versus nature, but we didn't see it as a versus because we were all already there operating at that intersection. And somebody asked at the end of it, they said, well, how do we engage with nature? How do we approach nature? Because half of us were we were Western, and we were encouraging people to play, to experiment, saying that like artists and scientists are the only adults who are allowed to play. And we're like, why? Why is this a thing? But then at the same time, on the other side of the panel, we had the ClientEarth representative and other women kind of channeling indigenous voices. And indigenous voices tend to represent the sacred in nature. And so somebody asked, they said, well, how do we then engage with nature? And I don't quite like saying with nature, but and she said, do we play with it? Do we go up to it in this kind of childish manner, or do we kind of stand back and we're in awe? Like, how do we do it? But actually, again, I think it's exactly the same thing. They're very similar, and it is working at this intersection of all of them, where we move forward. And this is where so I did this diagram, and I've thought about this since COP, and I show it to different people, and I say, what are we doing? Like, how do we do this? And so this is what I'm exploring at the moment. Yes, and then essentially, just to wrap up, I just want to say that all of us have our own unique set of skills, and we all have creativity within us, and it comes out in completely different ways. But we also all have the feminine within us. Everybody does. And so I think honoring our creativity and celebrating the feminine and channeling the feminine in all that we do is where it's at, basically. And we all just need to, I think, because there's not very much time. So I think, or it feels like there isn't very much time because of all these pressures and these stresses. And so I just think all of us need to kind of go out in any way that we're going. And it is really kind of following our joy, because our joy is pointing us in the right direction. It's where we find meaning. It's where we find our energy to go. And I actually have a bit more time left, but I'm finished. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, keep Ondaatje rolls. Thank you. There is one thing definitely I'm taking out from this conversation and from her presentation, is the intersection, is that the magic happens when things that can look opposite, then they come together, and we can create magic with that. And so while we are exploring all these different ideas and listening to the other panelists and listening to the other speakers as well, think about the intersection, where these words meet, because you might find your own magic there. That was deep. Damn. Sometimes I surprise myself. But now it is time to introduce the next moderator, which is going to lead the next panel. So please give a massive round of applause to Catel Legouven.
great. Kit, you did great. We knew it. You did great. So welcome, Women for Change. Welcome, everybody. And the men, we have Men for Change also in the room. Yes, yes. Thanks. And we have also one man in the panel. Marco was telling me each time we discuss about women, I'm the only man. That's not true. See, the room is full. So this conversation is about unlocking women's potential. What are the key resources to unlock women's potential? It's a little sad that we have to talk about this. There is a lot of buzz right now in this country about us in France having a female prime minister. And yet, for every dollar that every man makes every day, women only make 77 cents. Thank you. Mike is better placed now. And yet, women still carry the household and the care work 2.5 times more than men. And yet, we still have 1 billion women who don't have access to financial services. And I could go on and on looking at the COPs, or the number of COP26 representation, leadership, for instance, etc. So the idea is that you're all change makers here. And whatever change you're pushing, you can weave in some change for women in whatever you do. And I have great panelists here to inspire us and show us how they do that so that we can all go back to our jobs and unlock that potential. So I'm delighted to welcome the three of you. I'm going to start with you, Marco Nannini. You're the CEO of the Impact Hub in Milano. And you're also the co-founder of Angels for Women. So can you tell me why you created Angels for Women and what change you're trying to unlock here for women?
Thanks. Okay, we start to create Angels for Women for a specific reason. I work as a business angel in several groups, in different groups, and at a certain point we discovered that there is a too big gap. From one side, there is a few women that do the business angel activities. Really, when we do a meeting for business angel in a room like this, there is only 3-5 women business angels, so it's very, very few. And on the other side, there is few startup founded by female. And this is a great problem because it's not normal. It's obvious that there is something that is not that the female founder startups doesn't reach enough or doesn't reach the possibility to raise money from business angel group. So with as Impact Hub, together with AXA, with our partner AXA, we promote together and with 20 female founder, we create this group, the first group in Italy that are mainly female, because of course there is myself. I'm one of the business angels, so we need to mainly female, and but invest only in female startup. And we created this group in 2018, 2019, start to operate, and now we invest in almost 8 startups, and we help a lot of startups to grow, not only with funding, but even with mentorship. And there is some numbers that we create the change. First of all, that the number of female business angel in Italy move from 7% to 17%. That it's too few, but we do some change. And on the other side, there is some female startups that raise money not only from us, but when they raise money from us, then we present to other group of business angels, and the other business angel invested too.
Do you only fund a female startup in Italy?
Mainly in Italy, but it's not for a problem of that we want to invest only in Italy, but it's normal that the group of business angels generally invest in the US, they say in 1 hour commute range.
So typically female entrepreneurs get less access to funding, right? And yet you also have demonstrated that they tend to perform better, right?
Yes, there is a lot of study about that, and I remember the first that we discovered when we started the activities in 2018. A study from BCG demonstrate that, generally speaking, the female startup raise between 20 to 25 less money respect to the startup founded by male, and generally with a less evaluation. But they perform well, between 5 to 10% in terms of return on investment, and again 20% better in terms of revenue.
Yeah, so of course the financial profit is not the only criteria to consider, but I think it's important. Any investor in the room, take good notes. Female startups and impact entrepreneur needs your money, and they can also provide good returns. So thanks, Marco. Wingee, Sampaio, you are with the Cartier Women's Initiative. You're the program director there. You also invest in impact entrepreneurs, female impact entrepreneurs all over the world. Can you tell us what you do to unlock the potential of women?
Yes, thank you, Catel, and thank you for the great work you do, Marco. We also believe that unlocking the woman potential also actually unlock the world's potential, and I think it's important to make sure we draw that parallel. Via Cartier Women Initiative, we are an international entrepreneurship program. We provide financial, human, and social capital support to women impact entrepreneurs. And to date, we have supported 262 female entrepreneurs across 62 countries and granted $7 million over this time. Via our financial support, we provide a woman entrepreneur with a grant for their business. Via social capital support, we're supporting the women with networking opportunities and building their visibility with their business. And last but not least, via our human capital support program, it is a one-year fellowship that we have as a strategic partner with INSEAD. To support them with building the skill set that can help them in their entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, and I think it's important because from the two of you, you see that you provide financial support, so that's one of these resources to unlock the potential, but that's not enough, right? What also matters is accompanying the entrepreneurs, these female entrepreneurs into their journey, and that's what you also heavily invest in, right? How do you see the balance between the financial part and the rest of the other type of capital you're providing to these female entrepreneurs?
Sure. So you always need to write the check. So please write the check. You know, the financial support is very important, and that's table stake. There's no conversation without the financial support. But indeed, the social capital is also really important because one of the key takeaways from all the beneficiaries of our program is that they have never had a chance to really build a sisterhood amongst other women impact entrepreneurs, other entrepreneurs who are doing the same thing as they are, but in other corners of the world. And entrepreneurship in general is a very lonely journey. And imagine as a woman creating impact and also a woman balancing many different aspects and many different moments in a woman's life with entrepreneurship. I think that's also really something to be noted. And so this idea of the sense of belonging, the connections, the sisterhood is really, really very important for a woman impact entrepreneur.
Yeah, we heard that a little bit in your presentation, Kit, earlier. So the power of allyship and of community support is also quite important. So we've been with the two of you focusing a little bit on the impact economy because we are ChangeNOW, and that's what most people here are here to do. Flora, welcome to you as well. You are working with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. You are head of Southern Europe for the foundation. So what are the key issues you are focusing in at the foundation to unlock women's potential?
Yes, so in our job, we focus on advocacy, especially advocacy at local, at global, at grassroots level, at any level. And we try to give access for women to credit and also to cash transfers. Of course, I need to say that we work for low-income countries, women, especially in South Asia and sub-Saharan Africa, where the issues are, vital. The fundamentals are not always met. So we will for sure look into making sure that they have access to this cash transfer or to this credit to grow their own businesses in one case, or just to raise their own purchasing power, for instance.
And when you mean cash transfer, you mean cash transfer provided by the local government, right? So you do advocacy with the government so that they're direct beneficiaries.
Absolutely. For that, they need to own a bank account, which is not always the case. As you know, for instance, you took this example in India. There's been some direct cash transfers, but they realized that, there was more than 40% of women who didn't have a cash transfer. A bank account, So that's a big issue. We work also on unpaid work, and we try to make it, visible and paid. We want to promote and foster affordable childcare that allow women to go out of the family sphere and make a life of their own. We work for access to health services, which is basic but very much needed. We also very recently looked at how women paid a higher price during the COVID because they are the caregivers and the caretakers in most cases for the elderly or for their children, and they lost their jobs. And so we are advocating currently that in the economic recovery that is coming, women will be at the center of it.
Yeah, thanks. And I think that's important because when we talk about female impact entrepreneur in some countries, women and girls are not even accounted for. They're not even visible to start with. So I think what we're talking about in most developed economies is like a step higher already. And we shouldn't forget, indeed, to make sure that all the fundamentals are covered, including it sometimes in our countries. I'm thinking, for instance, on gender-based violence. I mean, that's probably also some areas where you're quite active with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Absolutely, and also very basically the safety when you go to work for women. There's in India, for instance, if you take the bus, you want to make sure you can go to your job safely. But also, we also working at what are the conditions that are more likely to help women to work. So maybe work later at night, and we would advocate with employers that they accept working from home at different times so that they can grow their own income and become change agents of their own family, community, and at society at large.
Yeah. And do you work mainly with government, or is any organization here present in the room pushing and advocating for women's rights and women's potential can also benefit from the support, including financial support of the foundation?
Absolutely. And actually, you're very right to highlight this because we work through partners. They know what to do. They are on the field. And so we fund partners that do advocacy, and we do advocacy in the Western world, I would say, to make sure ODA is going to these sort of topics and digital literacy, for instance, for women. But when it comes to action in the field, in the countries, we work through partners. NGOs, CSOs that do the work. Okay, so if you work, to push for women empowerment, human rights in any countries, you can come talk to Flora. ODA, you mentioned, is official development assistance, so you try to influence the funding going from rich countries to poor economies. So as we see from all your contributions, they are quite specific in a particular area, but we know that to truly unlock the potential, we need system change, right? We need all actors to recognize the full potential of women and support it. So based on your years of experience trying to promote women, what is, according to you, the key driver that can promote that system change? Maybe Wingee, I'll start with you.
Sure. I would say I would encourage everyone to join the Gender Lens movement. And for me, that is 3 components. Invest in a woman-led and woman-owned business. Second is to do business with enterprises that are promoting gender equality and that is practicing gender equality. And last but not least is support products and services that are for women and girls. So for me, the Gender Lens movement really encapsulate all that we can do to support the system change.
So the Gender Lens movement, anybody, are you all familiar with this movement? You seem so. If I want to join the gender lens movement, what do I do concretely? How can I join?
Yeah, so the three ideas are you can invest, maybe join
you
Marco.
do it directly.
Yes. And he's investing in women-led businesses and women-owned businesses.
Okay.
Or in your businesses with enterprises, you know, demand and make sure and check out, rather they have practice equality in their own internal HR practices, in their own you know, general business practices, supply chain practices. And then last but not least is support products and services that are for women and girls. And I think a lot of these products are, you know, supported by other women, but it really needs support by all of us.
Yes, exactly. And it's growing the she economy, as it's also called in certain countries. Exactly. Thanks. Flora, what about you? What do you see as one of the main drivers that you would like to see activated to make things move forward?
Well, I think, you know, the root cause is totally education. So we want to bridge all that gaps at all the educational level. But we focus particularly on digital financial literacy, I would say. That's really what we are looking for currently in the foundation.
And obviously, COVID took a serious toll on access to education, in particular for girls in many countries. Is this something that you are particularly active in, trying to, you know, revert this loss of gain at the Gates Foundation?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I touched on earlier. We try to make sure that the economic recovery, we don't start from scratch, but that we recover through women and with women as change agent of society. Yeah. And yeah, that's the point, the plan.
Marco, what about you? What is, do you think, one of the key drivers for system change?
I think one of the key drivers that the women generally perform better than male is networking, and you leverage on this, because it's very, very important to create a network, mentorship, network from peer, or network with mentor. What we understand that when we create the group of business angel is that the people internal, now we have 70 people, 70 women, that do more network than in the other group of business angel. And with this networking is not only to speech, to drink, or to do something, like in the normal business angel group, but it's more focused on how we can help, how we can mentor the startups, how we can help even the startup that we decided not invested in. For example, we do a lot of mentorship for the startup that coming to us, we decided to didn't invest for several reasons, and we help them in order to be ready for the next round. And I think this is what women generally do better than the male, and we leverage on this.
We, some of us here are part of the He4She movement, also that promotes, you know, allyship, believing that allyship is good across the board, but maybe there is a particular role for men to be ally and act as allies as women. What's your take on that? And how does that materialize in your angel investors groups? Do you see this existing in particular?
Yeah, exist. I don't know if I understand exactly your question, but some male enter in the network, and when entering the network, understand a new way in order to do business angel. It's not investing. It's not only investing. Yeah. It's more mentorship. It's more helping people to grow. Normally, all the people say the business angels. Money from business angel is not only money, it's smart money, because they help it. And but need to become real, not only a word, so not only a slogan, no? And in our group, it's real.
Thanks for doing that and speaking and candidly about it. So if you had, if there is one thing in your own activity, Wingee, that you could change tomorrow and that you like to change, what would that be? Something that you haven't probably managed to do in your current function, but that you would like to trigger. Like if you had that magic wand and wanted to change something for women, what it is that you would like to see?
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah.
But I think before our talk, I had to nail down on one. So I think it would be really fixing the financing gap for women impact entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I think without the financing, the business wouldn't have a chance to see the light. And that is just important in the sense that we're leaving half of the world's entrepreneurs behind without their ideas being expressed. And I really, again, will reiterate that the idea that realizing women's potential is actually realizing the world's potential. And Marco earlier gave some great stats from BCG about the investment returns, and maybe I'll share with you also some information from Mass Challenge, which is a program that's specifically tracking social and environmental entrepreneurs tackling big challenges via entrepreneurship. And in their program, they did a study around 350 entrepreneurs. And what they found was for every $1 invested, the woman entrepreneur generated 78 cents of revenue, while the man entrepreneur generated 31 cents in revenue. Now, I think both are great, but it's why would we settle for just 31 cents when you can get 78 cents?
There you go. Yes.
So you're underperforming.
Yeah.
So you've got to have the woman also in your portfolio and in your business dealings. And I think that will, when you realize a woman's potential, I think you'll realize the world's potential.
Exactly. And that funding gap, Wingee, that you would wish you could close, does it materialize differently in different countries? Or is it the same across the board?
It's all different, I'm afraid.
Yes, because you are yourself, through the Cartier Women's Initiative, providing funding to women, you said, in
62 countries. Yes.
So it's the same problem that women are facing as impact entrepreneur everywhere in the world.
Yes, they face similar challenges. I think the barriers to women entrepreneurship, to my surprise, it's consistent around the world. Or maybe it should be no surprise that it's consistent to the world. But at the same time, I would say in different countries, there's definitely environmental changes that are different. So what Flora mentioned earlier, the business and law environment, women having access to open a bank account for themselves, for the business, all different. And so that, of course, funnel down into the entrepreneurs and ability to start a business, maintain a business, sustain a business.
Yeah, thanks for that. Flora, what about you? What's your, what would be, the thing that you could do in the area where you are operating that would be really impactful from your perspective?
So our overall goal is to have women as the center and as change agents, and that would take two examples.
Yeah.
The first example would be, if women farmers are paid equally as men,
Yes.
we will see that the outcomes of the agriculture would grow. We would see that maybe there was more resilient ecological transition, for one.
Yeah.
If I take another example, it would be to talk about the economic recovery after C-19. We would see probably that they spend their money differently, and that the households, the community they live, thrive and benefit from their income. So definitely that would be to push them as change agent in society in every sector.
Yeah, thank you. And Marco, what about you? What would be the magic wand trick that you think could really...
Okay, we tell about this. My dream is to invest in the first female unicorn in deep tech technologies, because one of the point is that I don't know exactly in the word, but I'm sure that it's almost the same, but for sure it's very different sector by sector. So it's the access to capital, or the possibility to raise money and the possibility to create something, it's very different sector by sector. And of course, if we talk about deep tech, the adverse selection versus female entrepreneur, it's higher than in medicine or in fashion, of course, or other things. So it's important that we can find a new unicorn or a new billionaire female finally, and we can find the book of the history of this new entrepreneur.
But why a unicorn? Why a billionaire? Why do you think? Is that the role modeling? Is that the iconic?
I think it's not a role modeling, but for sure it could be an inspirational point for many people. Not only Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, it's all male. Sometimes it's not a big role model, but are inspirational in terms of growing and something. And I'd like to have a female not only Michelle Obama, but other females that are growing in the business.
Do you have any female entrepreneur in deep tech in the Cartier Women's Initiative all over the world that you are could be potential, or maybe in the room? Yeah.
Yes,
You
we
have
do.
some?
Yes. So
Okay.
2 years ago, in partnership with Hello Tomorrow, we launched a new program category of a woman in deep tech, basically scientists who are creating, leveraging business and deep tech as a force for good. And so we have this program category, and we had our first edition 2 years ago, and this edition also we will have again. And our first year in that category generated the highest number of application in our history of all the categories. So more than 300 women deep tech entrepreneurs apply.
Ah ouais.
Yes, and really incredible. We wish we were selecting more than 3.
Great.
For sure.
So you guys should talk, and if any of you is in deep tech as a female entrepreneur, come talk to Marco at the end of this panel as well. I think I'm getting the signal and the buzz that we need to wrap up. So again, as we said when we started that conversation, first, thanks for everything that you do. Everybody in the room is change maker, contributing to that impact economy. If there is one offer or solutions you want to leave with everybody here, as we all go back to our jobs, what would that be? Maybe Flora, let me start with you.
Okay, so as you know,
What can I do as a lay person to try to help women?
I guess it means looking for harmful laws or even social norms and try to look for them and speak up whenever you see them.
So in the country, like where I am now.
Anywhere in the world, in every country where you are, what do you witness as being an harmful social norm or even an harmful law, and how to speak up for those who can't?
Thank you. And directly, we can do that as citizens in the countries where we can vote. Otherwise, finding the NGOs, so concretely.
Through NGOs or, even in your office, you see something that is not right. In your neighborhood, you see something that,
Speak
seems
up.
like harmful to someone. And I guess that's your right and your duty, in a way, to speak up for this person.
Thanks, Flora. Marco, what about you?
In 2 words, if someone wants to become a business angel, it's not necessary to be a billionaire to be a business angel.
That's right.
And if you want to do this job in a group of business angels, if you are in Italy, come with us. If you want to build up a group like Angels for Women, we are very happy to help you in order to create a network of business angels worldwide. Name Angels for Women or with other name, it's not a problem. And even we want to create an incubator of startups, female startups. So we are working on that.
So replicate your initiative in other
Absolutely,
countries.
replicate.
Okay, so if you're interested in that movement, come again. See, Marco. What about you, Wingee?
Very simple. Our program's call for application is currently open, and it's open from now till end of June. And so, if you're a woman entrepreneur, apply to our program. We also this year have a new category of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that is open to men and women. And if you're not an entrepreneur, share the opportunity with another entrepreneur and have them apply to our program so they could benefit from our resources.
Thank you very much. Thanks, the three of you. I think it's important also to say that we focused on women in that conversation, but obviously exclusion issues go way beyond exclusion. So when we start with women, we can also increase the potential of a more diverse part of the population and of our communities. From us on the Inside front, you're all welcome. I'm doing my little PR as I close. On Saturday, we have a gender forum when we'll be looking at the latest data on impact of COVID on women at work and solution to try to remedy really the strong impact that COVID has had on women in the workplace. In the meantime, enjoy ChangeNOW. Root for women and girls wherever you are, whatever you do. Flora, Marco, Wingee, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We are back. Yes, can we please give them a massive round of applause? What a conversation, and it's great to see all these opportunities that are arising, in particular also when we talk about money, finance, and access as well. And I don't know if there is a thing, but the men on this panel, they were all Italian. I don't know. I'm Italian, Marco is Italian. I don't know if there is a thing about Italians here. But talking about being Italian, actually, I told you I'm a bit of a mama's boy, but at the same time, I'm a hopeless romantic. Oh. No? All right. And this next panel is actually about women that are shaping the future. And there is a woman that definitely is shaping my future and they shape my future. Is my incredible wife, Lovelda, which you have met actually in some of the panels. Can you please give her a massive round of applause? I and the reason why I wanted for everyone to acknowledge her is because I believe that women make things better. That's what I believe, and everyone that has been around me said that she made me better. And in this next panel, we're actually introducing some women that are going to make the world better with the projects that they are doing. So can you please give a massive warm welcome to Jana Degrott, Ilona Jedrasik, and Marieh Mehran. Please take a seat. Women shaping our future. So we start with you, Jana, and you're the co-founder of We Belong. You're a jurist and a politician. You ran your first electoral campaign at the age of 21. You're the youngest elected official in Luxembourg. Yes, please. And also you are part of the newest cohort of the Obama Foundation as an Obama leader. What got you started in this crazy adventure?
Thank you. Thank you for this introduction. I started early, and I started in politics. So I never felt represented in Luxembourg. So I got frustrated, and then I decided to just run for office at the age of 21. But prior to that, I've been an activist. I've been speaking up about youth rights in Luxembourg and beyond. At the age of 21, I ran for this office. Everyone expected me to end up last, and I won the seat. So I count as one of the youngest elected politicians in my country. And I'm one of the only ones that looks like me sitting in these positions. And I always hoped that me being in this space would encourage other women to also take up this space, that are like me, that look like me, that belong to minority groups. But I realized that it's just not that easy, because there are many barriers, many challenges for women, and also for women of color in particular. One of them is the hate online, for example, for younger generations. You know, for me, when I go on media, I already have to fear the moment I will do a mistake, someone is going to end up in my emails and going to tell me that I need to go back to my country, while Luxembourg is my country. So We Belong Europe is a project that I co-founded 2 years ago with one of my founders, Yasmin, that has also experienced a lot of hate in her public service activities. And we founded it to really create a new pool of role models. We showcase the stories of women of color all across Europe, and we really try to smash the stereotypes around people like us.
To give that support network, please give a round of applause. Thank you. Ilona, you are a member of the management board and the Fossil Fuel Infrastructure, which is a non-profit organization dedicated for environmental law. And also, you've been recognized by Forbes Poland magazine as one of the 25 female sustainable development leaders in 2021, as well European leader of the Obama Foundation just recently in 2022. What got you to start in the work that you do in terms of public infrastructure and also the lobbying work that you are part of?
Maybe, thank you. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here. I just wanted to add that I'm a member of the board of ClientEarth Poland and the lead of the fossil fuel infrastructure, just to clarify a little bit. So it was a long journey. It wasn't like just, oh, yeah, let's do fossil fuels in Poland. There's lots of coal, lots of interesting job to do. It was definitely not like that. I'm a sociologist and I'm working for ClientEarth, which is an organization of lawyers, and I'm actually leading a team of lawyers. So you can imagine how long it had to be to get to this point. And it started from Georgia, a little country in Caucasus, absolutely beautiful one, where I was a volunteer in one small NGO. And I spent there a couple of months, and I realized that Georgia is absolutely beautiful country, not the richest one. And I lived in the industrial city where the air was pretty polluted, where the river was pretty polluted, where there is a huge management problem with waste. And I just realized that you can be the richest person in Georgia, but you are never going to be really wealthy because you have to live in the conditions, in the environmental conditions, which are beautiful, but they're still pretty polluted. So when I came back from Georgia, where I did my first environmental project, and believe me, it was nothing really complicated. It was really literally picking up the garbage in one of the beach. But I gathered a group of people, young people from Armenia, Georgia, Latvia, and Poland to do that, and to kind of educate people and talk to the politicians and media and say, there is a problem. So when I came back to Poland, I decided to focus on environment more and also got to know more about my own country. And then it turned out that, yes, coal is a problem, and air pollution is a problem, and climate change is a problem, which is a global problem, but also a Polish problem.
Yeah.
And that was my way to get to where I am.
We're going to talk also in a moment about some of the campaigns that you have that you are doing as well, that you have done. So we're going to come back to that. Marieh, you founded MAA'VA with a mission to revive the hidden empathy in architecture and science to serve humanity and our Mother Earth. And I know that some of the projects that you're doing and some of the materials that are using, that you're building, that you're creating, are revolutionizing the industry. So can you talk a bit more about that?
Sure. Yes, so I'm an architect, and I'm also a very sensitive person. So when I go to nature and when I see a lot of indigenous women are dying because they are trying to kind of go against what's happening in their lands to protect the lands from mining, it affects me. And also when I go to the streets of Los Angeles and I see a lot of homeless people on the street, it affects me. For me, I'm coming from Iran, and when I got accepted to UCLA to move from Iran to US, I was expecting when I come to US to first world country, I would see like a super advanced country that there's no problem there. But then when I got there and I saw homelessness in the streets of Los Angeles, I'm like, okay, this problem is everywhere. It's not just in developing countries. So I, as a very curious person, and as an architect who is used to just connecting the dots and coming up with some innovative concepts to solve those problems, I started putting all these dots together. Okay, how can we solve this? How can we find a solution that proves to us that there is empathy in science, there is empathy in architecture, and we can use it to serve not only our planet but also all human beings.
Yeah.
So I did like an extensive scientific research. I talked to many scientists who has been developing this sort of concrete using recycled plastic as an ingredient. And to my surprise, I noticed it hasn't been commercialized. Mm-hmm. It's been in academia for years, and no one would even think about commercializing it. And concrete is the second most used material on Earth, responsible for 8% of global CO2 production. And if concrete was a country, it would be the third biggest CO2 emitter in the world. And I was surprised that it hasn't been changed for centuries. So then I started putting a team together. I connected to my amazing Chief Science Officer, Monica, who is also in the audience today. And we started doing a lot of research, and finally we came up with our patent pending technology that uses non-recyclable plastic waste in concrete, and it's cured with CO2, tackling 4 main problems at the same time. First is water scarcity, because we are reducing water by 75%. Second is global river sand shortage. A lot of people might not be aware of this, but the world is running out of river sand. And there is a violent black market out there for it. People are dying. And we reduce sand by 60%. And the reason the world is running out of river sand is because concrete includes 70% river sand. And without river sand, there will be no modern civilization possible. So that's the second approach that we have. And the third one is waste plastic problem. So we are taking non-recyclable plastic waste, and we are turning it into a very, very important commodity, which is called like the new gold, river sand. And the last one is climate change, because we are creating a carbon sequestering eco-concrete that captures carbon and keeps capturing carbon for a couple years, and turns concrete from a super polluting material to a material that can heal the planet.
So you're basically taking one particular solution and solving multiple problems with one solution.
Yes.
And that's also the kind of lateral thinking that we want to have when we create the solution to save the planet and to change our environment that we are living in. Now, I see you as visionary women. You have a vision of things that how could be different and how can be better and how can be changed. And Jana, I want to start with you in building also this vision that you have. What has been some of the biggest challenge actually that you have that you had in your field to face as a woman in your industry, and how were you able to overcome that?
I think now, just shortly about myself, of course, the challenges for me in a space of power, being a young woman and being the way I am, comes with a lot of challenges. And I think the biggest challenge was always like my sense of belonging to this space has been questioned way too often. And it always felt like I needed to be thankful to be in this space while I worked for it. And this is something that annoyed me. And now with We Belong Europe, this is something we want to change. We want to smash the stereotypes around women belonging to any minority groups. And we want to show that these women are also shaping the EU we see it today, by giving them the platform, by giving them opportunities of visibility, but also by connecting them to younger generations, that this younger Janas, I always say it, everywhere I go I say always younger Jana, these younger Janas have someone to look up to. It's very important to see yourself somewhere, and in anywhere, like in any leadership position, if to see someone gives you hope and gives you the courage to also first apply for maybe for the job, or also just consider that path. And this is what we are doing. So really, we are trying to give them the visibility. And the challenges are, of course, the support. Like you mentioned the Obama Foundation. I created We Belong, okay, not that long before the Obama Foundation nominated me, but prior to that, funders would not consider me because this is not something they were interested in. While we communicate online, while we have an audience online, and we built We Belong in the middle of COVID, because we were supposed to travel to meet these women with a whole team of people filming and recording and having our host at places. But because of COVID, we did everything remotely. Everything, and we still managed to have impact, to scale up, to have trainings, to have panels. We did so much work, and still there was no trust in our work. It's now, of course, with all these nominations, and I get nominated one by one, and I get so many nominations, I'm thankful, but it's not about me here.
Like
it's about
how many nominations do I need to have before people take me seriously?
Thank
Could
you.
have just taken me seriously from the beginning.
Yes. Also the support we need, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
To give it to others. It's not about me. It's not about my nominations. It's about giving hope to younger Janas.
To the younger Janas.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Ilona, how about you? What has been the biggest challenge you had to face in the legal industry? Because that's the industry in which you're in.
I was never pretending I belong to the legal industry. I know how it sounds, but yeah, I was always saying I really respect and admire the legal's job, but I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just really politely listen to the lawyers because they know what their job is about. And that was one of the first lessons. But when I'm thinking about challenges, it's not really about legal industry. It's about politicians again. And
there's a common theme here, if you haven't noticed.
I think it's a common thing, because I also ran this, let's say, green lobbying, green advocacy in the Polish parliament. And I started when I was 24, when I just came from Georgia, as I said before, and it was a thing. You know, I was 24, and I was talking about climate change and about coal and about energy transition in the, for example, Committee of Economy or Committee of Energy in the Polish Parliament, where, let's face it, I was one of the youngest and one of the few women. And it happened once that I was going to the committee of the upper house of the parliament, and there were some other commissions still running, and the head of this commission said, and now all the ladies are kindly invited to leave because now we are going to talk about energy. And, wow. and I thought it was a joke, but it was kind of, you know, joke, not joke. So yeah, and you just have to go through that, and you just have to pretend. I mean, not pretend. You just have to know that you have a right to sit there, and you have a right to raise your voice. So
when
I was never afraid to raise my voice.
But when these kind of things happen, what can women do? Because
they need to sit.
They need to stay there.
Of course.
Yeah.
You never leave the room because some men tell you to do it.
Here to stay.
Here to stay. But no, it's easier, sometimes easier to be said than done, because when you are in that environment, no, there is so much external pressure that now, if you don't have, we're talking about representation, you're talking about having other role models around you that can show as well, you know, what can be done. That becomes even more difficult. So I want to ask also with Marieh, how about you? What was the biggest challenge you faced as a woman in your industry? Was it still politicians, or was something different?
No, I'm in construction industry.
Okay.
Which is a very, very male-dominated industry. Yeah, so I had actually a couple of challenges. I think we as women kind of face similar challenges, especially male-dominated industries such as construction industry, where like a lot of people won't take you serious because you're a woman. Especially like for me, like tackling concrete, they're like, why are you working on concrete? Like it seems very like masculine, like, and I'm like, it's a problem, and if we solve it, it's gonna help our Mother Earth, like, so we don't have to be like a man to do that. And the second one is, I think in a lot of male-dominated industry, women are kind of looked at as material objects rather than thought leaders, creative individuals who can solve problems. That was another challenge I've seen a lot. And the third one is, I'm an immigrant. I'm someone who's moved from Iran to US, having all those geopolitical complications between two countries, and not having the family support, not having, like I had to learn the language, I had to learn the culture, I had to learn the environment, how the business work in this country, and how to behave in a way that is professional. At the same time, you also can stand up for your values and also keep your identity as an Iranian woman who grew up in a whole different culture, in a whole different environment. So that was quite challenging, because sometimes I would feel like, is there something wrong with me? I cannot quite fit here. Like my interests are different, and I didn't have that supportive family, which I think it was a big deal, because a lot of my colleagues and regardless of their gender, they had at least that luxury. But to me, all I could think about was that everyone has their own calling, everyone has their own purpose. We should just tune in and see what feels right and just move forward and look at the challenges as a way to growth and a way that would make us a better person and also help us to be a good force in the world to bring a positive impact. And I feel that has empowered me, and thank you, and that has empowered me, and it has helped me to kind of grow to who I want to be somehow.
So what I'm hearing, thank you. What I'm hearing you saying is also that by finding that inner strength, finding that purpose, and connecting with that also help you navigate all these external situations that you are finding yourself in.
Yeah, like I believe in intuition. I believe that all the answers are within you, and I do a lot of meditation.
Right.
And I feel whenever I want to make an important decision, I just tune in, and it has never disappointed me.
So we can find that answer and that strength inside. And I want to go back actually to Kit conversation and Kit presentation before, talking about the intersection. There is, when talking about the challenges that I've heard you saying, it was not about I'm just a woman. I'm a black woman. I'm a young woman. I'm an immigrant woman. So there are a lot of personal challenges that come from these intersections, but at the same time solutions that can be found in intersections. For example, took a woman to commercialize a new form of concrete. So there is, I could see the theme there. What I want to ask you is, what piece of advice would you have for a young woman, a young Ilona?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jana, that is that is now ready to go out there, but somehow either with their business or with a career, but somehow feels held back. What piece of advice would you have for her?
I have a few advices. First, you need to have a mentor, identify a mentor, someone you can reach out to and ask honest opinions about, you know, like when you have to take life decisions. I decided to do this way too late.
Wait,
yes.
too late at 21.
No. Like, let's say I decided I struggled a lot during my mandate in the COVID times, because my colleagues were the only people I would see, because we were in lockdown, and then whatever. I struggled a lot, and this is when I reached out to a person that could become my mentor. Then I always say a tribe, especially for younger Janas, because like hate online, hate offline exists, and I've been questioning already many times if I should continue what I'm doing, because if you face any kind of shitstorm online or just hostilities environments outside, you really question yourself. So you need to identify this tribe that supports you in any circumstances, and then also take risks, do it. You can do stuff even if you fear. You do it. I don't fear now. I'm very relaxed here. I don't know why. I'm not stressed, but normally I would be, when I was younger, I would stress. And I would do many mistakes. When I go on TV in Luxembourg, sometimes I say stuff, it doesn't make sense. I said it, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, no, this is not a sentence. It makes no sense. But making mistakes is normal. Yeah. Especially also as a politician. I always thought politicians need to be perfect. No way, no. We don't need to be perfect. We need to learn. And to do mistakes, you need to learn. So just, you can do stuff also when you fear. This is like the biggest advice I give.
When you fear, you can still go ahead and do stuff. Thank you. Ilona, how about you? What piece of advice would you have for a woman, for a young woman who's starting their career, their dream, and building a future?
So what I'm observing is that women often, because of the industry, I think the industry and the journals speak about women is about perfect body, basically perfect mother, perfectionism. And I know that there is tons of materials about that and how it's ruining us and our careers as well. But I think often with women is also the stronger feeling that, well, maybe I would be there, but there's something missing inside me. Like, I don't have this proper education, maybe my language skills are limited, or maybe this is not enough. And we're always feeling that there's something not enough. And I just wanted to say that I was never the smartest kid at school, and my English was never brilliant, and I'm not a lawyer, and I'm able to be a member of the board of one of the most important environmental organizations in Poland, and managing lawyers, and I'm very happy with this position, and I'm not competing with them. I think like I have something which maybe they don't have, and this is just a perfect mix. So don't try to compete, just look what you are doing best and just do it, and don't think about what is missing, because this is really not important.
Focus on what you're doing great and keep
Absolutely.
going. Yes, thank you. Marieh, how about you? What piece of advice would you have for young woman starting in a career?
What I would say is there's no competition. There's no competition. We have this illusion of competition in the world that everyone is trying to tell you to be the best person in the room. I feel the most important thing is to find happiness in what you do and find joy in what you do. And for that, you just need to know yourself very well and look into your own values. Like Stephen Kotler says, your passion is at the intersection of 4 or 5 things you're curious about. So once you find what you're curious about, then you can start overlapping them and you realize what's your passion, and then you can see what kind of problem in the world can be solved with your passion. Then here you have a solution that you're passionate about and is also solving a very, very important problem in the world and can be a golden business opportunity. And when that happens, magic happens. When that happens, suddenly you meet opportunities, you have people who will be attracted to you because of that energy that you have and because of that passion that you have inside your heart. Then it doesn't feel like working, it just feels like a natural part of your life. You're doing what you love to do, and you're enjoying your life, because at the end of the day, we're here on earth to be happy and enjoy this paradise that has been gifted to us.
And with these beautiful words, can you please give a massive round of applause to Jana, Ilona, and Marieh. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I can leave the microphone.